My number six is Dunkirk.
Okay.
And yeah, no, okay, yeah.
So we are officially into like what I consider good
Okay.
stuff that like completely works for me. So my number six is Insomnia. And you had Insomnia lower, right? What was your
I did. Insomnia was next to last for me.
Okay. So why don't you talk about why you hated it?
Don't worry, Will.
Last night when I rewatched it, I thought it was really solid. Like I don't know, like a 3.5 or 4 stars, like out of five, truthfully. But I found myself ultimately fairly bored, and it read to me this time very much as like Silence of the Lambs light.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And again, I love the subjective flourishes, perspective of Al Pacino's character as he becomes more and more tired. I wish there was just more of it, a little weirder. Robin Williams' is performance is really naturalistic, obviously quite different from what we usually see from him, but it just didn't feel, or not his performance, but the dynamic between him and Pacino just didn't feel as dynamic as I would have liked. It's like they were both too muted for each other. Hilary Swank is fine as like, I guess, kind of like the ingenue police officer, not a mom, not a wife, very independent, and actually has a lot of agency, actually nails our protagonist ultimately. So it's kind of interesting how I feel like Nolan's name came onto the scene with Batman Begins, and yet maybe arguably one of his top female characters was pre Batman Begins. So it's like no one really, I mean, I don't think people really know that Hilary Swank did pretty well in Insomnia.
Yeah, now that you say that, I think she is his best female character, probably by a lot.
Yeah, I think you can honestly argue it. I think it's like her, maybe Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, yeah, maybe like if
And then like Elizabeth Debicki, but like
yeah.
50% endorsement there.
So yeah, it was kind of funny. It's like, oh yeah, like maybe if Insomnia had kind of came after a Batman, people would be giving him more credit.
So Insomnia is interesting because it's the least Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan movie,
yeah.
and that's probably why I like it more and you like it less because you like Nolan more than I do. What's really interesting about it is it's a fork in the road moment for him. It's before he was a superstar. It's a moment where he could have been more of a director for hire and gone the way of like a Jon Favreau and like not been this auteur. But the reason he is an auteur is because he's obsessed with making movies about time and noir and morally gray men and all this stuff. So he does this and then goes off to make Batman, which you would think, okay, that's kind of director hire for hire too, but he just ends up making Batman so his own that it just really
Mhm.
goes well for him. Insomnia doesn't, it's linear. It's a little complicated, but it's linear. I liked it though, just because I don't know, it works. Those three characters that you've brought up are really good. Pacino is doing a good job of representing like the moral dilemma every cop faces, where most of them see themselves as good guys and start off wanting to do right, but then they're traumatized by the work. And that gets to them and leads to them, becoming part of the problem. That's like a duality, a moral issue that every cop faces. So that's very like archetypal and relatable and interesting to me. I also like how we don't know exactly what he did at first. So there's like a great ambiguity to his character when he's having that conversation at dinner with his partner about not turning him into internal affairs. And then Robin Williams is really interesting because it is very subdued. He's not doing anything, like he's not Mr. Crazy serial killer. But I find that interesting because I think that again feels very true. Like most killers are not Hannibal Lecter. They're just sort of selfish assholes. I love how he keeps saying it was an accident. And so you're kind of interested to see like, oh, what was the accident? And then it turns out it was not an accident at all. Like
Yeah.
he plainly murdered her as much as someone could. And so you see how that kind of guy sees himself. Like he makes so many excuses for himself that he doesn't even see what he did as murder. I think that's really complex and interesting. And then Hilary Swank is kind of complex and interesting too, because she has this great arc of going from naive and thinking this is all going to be fun and games to realizing she needs to if she's going to be good at this, she can't really trust anyone 100%. She always has to be kind of questioning and thinking everyone's actions through. At the same time, he warns her at the end, you know, don't throw the bullet away. Don't become like me. You have to keep some of your humanity to do the job right. I think it does a really good job of laying out like the cop's dilemma of like, how do I maintain my humanity, which is key to me doing this job, while also becoming very cold and shrewd, which is also key to me doing this job. It has one of the best action sequences in any Nolan movie, ironically. The log
flume.
The log flute, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. I thought like the subjectivity of that was so good, seeing him under there trying to get out. You're like feeling his fingers, you know, like you're like, oh, don't put your fingers in there.
Great sequence. It's a great sequence.
Yeah. All right, number 5, what do you have?
Number 5 is Oppenheimer, which was previously higher. I now have it at 5. I even would not be opposed to pushing it back down to 6 and putting Dunkirk at 5, but right now Oppenheimer's 5.
Okay, Dunkirk is my number 5.
We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender. We shall never surrender.
If someone were to tell me that Dunkirk was their favorite Nolan movie, I like would not have any qualms with that whatsoever. Amazing shot compositions. I mean, this film is gorgeous. It has a sophistication of just framing and composition that perhaps is the best of Nolan's films. It's his second collaboration with cinematographer Hoytema, if I'm saying that correctly, after Interstellar. And I think this is peak. We don't need to know about the protagonist as our protagonists as people because they're already humanized in their circumstance. I remember Nolan in press for this movie said he didn't want the scene in every war film where they're like in the back of a caravan or in their like a helo carrier talking about can't wait to get home to my wife and
the Saving Private Ryan scene.
Yeah, very much like most of his films, it starts and it grips you and it goes and there's some really harrowing sequences. Like it is truly like out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Yeah, if you have a fear of drowning, this movie is your worst nightmare.
It really is war as hell in a very Nolan way.
Okay, my problem with that is the movie is at odds with itself sometimes in that regard, because sometimes it's very war as hell, but it also wants to be like the proudest British movie, the most patriotic British movie that ever existed.
Yeah.
Like Kenneth Branagh's whole job is to like stand on the pier and marvel at British excellence. And like it's Christopher Nolan being an English gentleman, an old school, like liberal, you know, like he's proud of his country. And that patriotism, you can be proud and patriotic and not like think war is good. But sometimes, for me at least, there's a tension in the movie between like war is hell and like these men are heroes. Like it starts to veer into making war look a little cool at times. And it makes me kind of prefer something like All Quiet on the Western Front, which is just like the most war as hell movie I've ever seen, even more than Saving Private Ryan. It's like, do not go to war, like no matter what you do. I don't know if you know this, the actor that plays Alex was actually in a boy band as a kid. It was short-lived. It's called One Direction. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Oh, well, yeah. It's sort of like white BTS, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of a what was Camila Cabello's band called? Fifth Harmony. It's kind of a male Fifth Harmony, if you will.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so a lot of great recognizable actors. I mean, there's more that we haven't even talked about. I mean, it works to just cast guys that we can automatically relate to. And like you were saying, this is the movie where like I have this so high, ironically, even though my big gripe with Nolan is he doesn't do good characters. But this is the movie where like it doesn't call for it at all. Mm-hmm. So like it works. That being said, it's not like one of my favorite movies ever because it is so light on character. You know, it's you revisit it for the spectacle more than like because it's like a really good story per se. I mean, it's a very simple story. It's basically like a silent film, you know.
Yeah.
Little gripes here and there. I don't get why the boys at the very beginning are just walking down the middle of this street in what they must know is enemy territory, just so they can all get shot in the back. That was odd to me. And it's kind of confusing then because you're like, oh, where is he? And then you quickly understand like he was still behind enemy lines and he gets behind the French line and he's safe. But you're like, why were you just casually strolling before then? Actually, there is a theory about what happens to Tom Hardy's character. So some people think that while in the prison camp, he receives some sort of damage to his face and they have to fit him with like a strong metal mask. And then he's like put in a prison in Asia for a long time before reemerging.
You know, it's all just one big cinematic universe.
Yep. Okay, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is The Prestige.
My number 4 is The Prestige.
No more secrets.
Secrets in my life.
This was like my username for like Xbox.
It was The Prestige or
something It was
else?
like a Prestige, but like spelled a weird way. But
Dope.
yeah, this like blew my mind as a high schooler, and I think it's still phenomenal.
It has the most frustrating lack of character development of all of them because it is so good and I want to like the characters more, and I feel like there's a fair amount of telling rather than showing. Like Christian Bale is obsessed with his work and can't give me attention, and I feel like we don't really see that. And even at that, it's like their characters are Hugh Jackman is the showman, Christian Bale is the technician, and it's like if you take that away from them, we barely know anything about them. I think that could be fixed if you cast differently. I don't think Hugh Jackman is right or as good as it could be with him. Guy Pearce should be in that role, I think. And because he's better at being like a compelling asshole. He's just better at being an asshole. He was gonna be. Christopher Nolan was originally going to make this with him and Jude Law, according to Guy Pearce, which sounds pretty good to me. I do like Christian Bale a lot in this, but that sounds really interesting. He ended up going to making Batman first. This came out between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. In that process, got really like ingratiated with WB. So then when he went to make The Prestige with WB had some executive, according to Guy Pearce, who had like a no Guy Pearce policy because he was just like, I don't get Guy Pearce. And it was like, okay. At the time, I remember really enjoying like The Time Machine and stuff, like, and Count of Monte Cristo. Like, I really always found Guy Pearce compelling at the time. So obviously that's just like one of many examples in history of Hollywood executives being morons. I would have liked to see that because I don't think Hugh Jackman is kind of like John David Washington. He's not bad. He's just not like on the level of some of these other actors. This is also maybe the worst female characters in the filmography, insofar as like they are totally there to motivate the men. They're there to be used by the men. And the twist of Christian Bale having an identical twin implies that he raped them both.
Yeah, that really hits you once you're beyond high school. You're like, oh.
Yeah, like, and back then, this is very like bro-y of him. Back then, people would not have thought of that as rape. But like now that we like talk more about consent, and I'm not trying to be a pick-me, I'm not trying to virtue signal, I think this is pretty cut and dry. Is when you have sex with someone under false pretenses, and it seems explicit, like half the time they are having sex with the twin and don't know it. And it's really weird. Like, that's a very weird scenario.
It's like, I believe Nolan understands the implications because it's alluded to with Rebecca Hall. Rebecca Hall's character saying, some days some days you mean when you love it.
That is foreshadowing. That is a clue.
Foreshadowing. But again, I think it's kind of like,
I don't think that's him saying...
in our PG-13 studio movie.
Well, then don't put that in there. He needs to have made it like, I always had sex with her, and he always had sex with Scarlett Johansson. That would make it a little better, at least.
Nolan protagonists that are obsessives. I think The Prestige is the best of this.
Yeah.
In that it's like we have one of them literally kills himself every night, basically.
Yeah.
And the other, splits his life, like lies to his wife. They don't, they probably don't know which one is, as, the daughter, whose daughter is.
Well, yeah, very good point, yeah.
Like the inhuman places these two go for their craft, their meaning of life. I think that's I think he knows that.
I think I don't know, because the movie condemns Hugh Jackman, but it doesn't really condemn Christian Bale because he gets a happy ending with his daughter.
Yeah, it does end on a good note. I mean, one of the twins does die.
Yeah, I guess in that sense he's foisted. Like
Yeah.
that is some comeuppance, but the other twin is just as guilty, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So no one comes. Yeah, there is no one comes out unscathed. Yeah,
I think the movie needs to
I see where
leave.
you're going. Yeah,
The movie needs to leave the other twin on like more of a dour note. Like,
yeah.
here's where this has led me. This is him figuring out his style. This is the Nolan brand that is going to make billions of dollars. Also, this is a complicated one. Probably the next most third most complicated maybe. And it's one unlike Tenet where it does make sense.
Mhm.
And it's fun to think it through. Like, it confused me enough in a good way to where I was like, oh, was the twin a clone? There is a fan theory like Tesla had an accident and cloned him and didn't realize it. And then that's like a fun contrast is he treated his twin as a brother and lived with him, and Hugh Jackman is cold and kills his clones every night, or himself. But the reason, for when you think about it, actually, no, that doesn't work, because he is totally shocked by Hugh Jackman's ability to transport across the room. So, at no point does he suspect that he's cloning himself. And he would if he knew that that was a possibility. Also, one of the like kind of thinner parts of the plot is him sending him to Tesla, just because you're like, why? That's so random. He definitely wouldn't do that if he knew Tesla had the ability to do like real magic, like he wouldn't want him close to his greatest secret. So he's definitely just a twin, and that's fine. And that's fun to like think through for me. The other great fan theory that I think could completely be true, and I don't know if you've ever heard this one, is that Andy Serkis is actually Nikola Tesla, and David Bowie is the assistant or body double. And I think that is true, or at least makes the movie better, because when Christian Bale first sees him at the like performance hall where the demonstration gets canceled, he really like looks at him and studies him. And then you are kind of like, why did he send him to Tesla? The journal says it was just to waste his time. But part of me, and I think other fans, thought, what if he can't help but kind of tell him the truth a little bit, knowing he'll never get it? What if he's saying, if you look closely at Tesla, you'll understand the key to my trick, because Tesla is using this perfect double. I'm using a perfect double, but he's not the technician, he's the showman, so he'll never notice that. Also, just Andy Serkis has so much more presence and agency than Nikola Tesla. He's the one having the initial...
David Bowie?
Yeah, I mean, David Bowie's really good, but like the way Andy Serkis' character is presented, he's like more important to the movie. He is the one that has the first conversation with him and really gets the feel for who he is and gives him access. And it has a very like Willy Wonka feel, like I'm discerning your character before I let you in the gates. I like that theory a lot. There's nothing literally in the movie to suggest it, other than it does kind of give a little more reason why he would send him to Tesla. But again, that's just why I like this one. It's really fun to think through. And it's non-linear at the beginning, like Batman, in almost the exact same way Batman Begins is.
Yeah.
In a way that works because it builds suspense. It works fine. You can follow it. So, yeah. What was your number 3? I think you mentioned it already.
Inception.
Okay, that's crazy. I think that's wrong after we've discussed all. My number 3 is Memento.
Okay.
Even if you get revenge, you're not going to remember it. You're not even going to know that it happened.
Who did this to you?
You did.
Yeah. This is him perfecting. It's funny because it's before he became a brand, and the style is still like the visual style is still not exactly. It's not the Prestige and Batman Begins style we were just talking about. It's a little more still kind of like late 90s, early 2000s, but it looks a hell of a lot better than the following. It's, the ultimate film school movie. It's about screenwriting in a way. It's so cool because the nonlinearity, he perfected the nonlinearity in his second movie.
You cannot divorce it from the protagonist.
Right.
Form and function are one and the same in this movie.
Yeah. It shows us what it feels like to be him, to not know what just happened. Guy Pearce is excellent in it.
Totally agree. I've always loved his performance in this.
He should have broken out more. This should have sold that stupid ass executive that he should have been in the Prestige. He just really holds your interest. He's really likable while also seeming dangerous. Even though he was just an insurance guy, you buy that he somehow is just very capable of a lot of sort of dangerous things. There's got to be some bros out there that got those tattoos, at least one of them. The phone one. I bet you people get the phone one.
Yeah.
No one's getting like John G. My wife. But although I bet you in a world of 8 billion people, at least one Christopher Nolan bro did get that, like all of them. Carrie Ann Moss is really interesting.
Yeah.
Really interesting because she turns out to be the villain. It's a little ambiguous, but you know, at the beginning she thinks she seems like a reluctant friend, and then actually she's the one who most knows how to manipulate him for her own needs and has him do probably like the darkest things, and has that whole incredible monologue where she's calling him the R word and just complete. And he's great because he doesn't, you know, I think he does like smack her eventually, but he really is like not wanting to rise to it for a while. He's such a like, you know, nice guy. So yeah. And then Joey Pants is in it. Wonder had a great cameo in Wonder Man this year. And he's really interesting and complex because like, do you feel like he deserved to be killed?
Do I think he deserved it? That's an interesting question. No, and I think that's kind of what keeps me coming back to Memento is that incredibly dark twist that our protagonist is breadcrumbing himself more people to kill to satisfy this sense of justice he will never hold on to. So no, I don't think Joey Pants deserves it. I think that's a great aspect of the film.
Yeah, it's almost like a horror movie ending because like really he kind of is foisted by his own ability to let go, because it's established through the Sammy Jenkins flashbacks that it's a psychological condition. It's like, you know, they say like it's not your fault that you have issues, but once you realize you have the issues and you know what the treatment is, it is your fault if you're not like pursuing that. And so that's like he's foisted by his sort of refusal to acknowledge that this is psychological and that it's a coping mechanism. And, you know, even when he's confronted with it, he purposefully keeps himself from remembering it. The Sammy Jenkins segments are so good. That guy is played by Stephen Tobolowsky, who I worked with actually on the Netflix One Day at a Time remake. I notice more when he's in things, and he's so funny and like so sweet and sad. And I love when he's like, you know, test this or whatever.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. His wife is played by Harriet Sansom Harris, who's been in like everything. Most recently, she was Verussa Bloodstone in Werewolf by Night, the Marvel horror short.
Okay, yeah.
They're both really great, and that's like a movie within the movie that adds a lot of texture and intrigue and interest, and the twist that it's him is great. I love the little details like the dirty car. I love his hair.
Yeah, great hair, amazing hair.
Oh, Mark Boone Jr. plays the guy at the front desk of the motel. He is Flash in Batman Begins.
Yes.
And then also he was in Die Hard 2 and Sons of Anarchy.
So so that's the last pre-Batman films. He's the last one we can count as being who goes on to act in another Nolan film.
Okay, so say what was your number 2 again?
My number 2 penultimate film, Memento.
Okay. So my number 2, and I'm feeling a little self-conscious about this, but we'll see if I can justify it. My number 2 is Batman Begins.
Guy dresses up like a bat clearly has issues.
I love Batman. Sometimes I waffle between this and The Dark Knight because this is like almost more of a Batman movie than The Dark Knight.
I totally see that, yeah.
It's more gothic. It's a little more wild with its villains. You know, they're like slightly supernatural. Like it has an insane asylum in it. It's channeling more of like what the comic is. It's a very good adaptation of Batman Year One by Frank Miller, which is the Batman comic that like he had already been on, like transitioning from campy to gothic and creepy, and modern. but like Year One is what really cemented that. It's not totally that. It also is adapting something I've never read. It's it's from 1989, an issue of Secret Origins, which is just like kind of an anthology series that shows different backstory for different characters. That a lot of the like being trapped in the cave as a kid with bats and stuff comes from that. So it's a mix of things, but it basically is Year One. It's about fighting Falcone. It's about him figuring out how to become Batman. I like the comics better overall. There's never been a Batman movie that really matched the comics for me. So Year One is better. The most direct thing I haven't mentioned is James Gordon is played by Gary Oldman and is kind of like the secondary protagonist. That's very true to Year One, and his conflict with Flash and all of that is right out of Year One. The Joker card at the end, that's from Year One. So it's really an adaptation of Year One with some other stuff mixed in. It's definitely like it's where he became the Christopher Nolan, that just confident, like global, like James Bond but slicker style, doing the non-linearity at the beginning, which is smart. I think it was a mistake to do that for Man of Steel, which he helped to write the story for, because with Superman you want to see like the very archetypal like baby to hero linear progression. With Batman Begins it works well because it's a less concrete origin. Really, for as popular as Batman is, I would say actually his training years have not been explored all that much in the comics. So there's more room to play, and I think it's just like it keeps it from being boring. I think it would be boring because he's going to become Batman. So intercutting him becoming Batman with his training, it just keeps it feeling like good. And it's fast, but like in a way that just breathes. It's like the whole first act is a montage, but it works. Like his relationship with Katie Holmes is not that interesting, but like I don't mind it intercut with all this other stuff. Gary Oldman is the standout though. I think he's the best character in the movie. He's just perfect. James Gordon, he nails the like, I'm a working class man just trying to do the right thing. I'm a little corrupt, but only as much as I need to be. It shows why him and Batman then make for good partners. A big part of the comic is the rooftop thing, like leaving him on the rooftop without saying goodbye and him not realizing he left. They nail that. Him having something to do at the end using the Batmobile, that's like great screenwriting. And then we get Michael Caine's Alfred for the first time, and that's he's the best Alfred hands down. He has no real competition, but just cheeky, challenging uncle figure. And then just surprisingly, like you'd think, oh, we don't need Morgan Freeman, Lucius Fox either. You do. It's just a great way for him to like get his gadgets. Oh my God, I haven't even talked about Cillian Murphy. Yeah, he's my favorite like Christopher Nolan regular.
Same.
And although I like him better in Peaky Blinders than any Nolan thing, he is so good at the Scarecrow when he goes, "It's the Batman." Like that is so Batman. That is so perfect. So speaking of Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow, we have another Scarecrow here with us today. This is Alex Guyton in circa like 2019, 2017?
18 or 19.
Like 18 or 19 at a Halloween party. I don't think the mask is as good as Cillian's, but it's a pretty good mask. I think maybe you could have done more with your pose. Seem a little more menacing.
Yeah, I think maybe there's another photo out there somewhere, but I looked into trying to buy a replica mask. Very few available, and I was like, well, how hard could it be? And it took some time and some trip to Joann's and Marshall's, but I think I got
this is Joann's Scarecrow.
It's like a burlap, and then you sew some stuff into it, and you burn it a little bit. And I think I got pretty close. Not the most practical.
Yeah,
I had to drink my libations through a straw.
Did you throw powder at anyone?
No, I didn't. I did not make anyone go insane. But yeah, I like Batman Begins a whole heck of a lot. I mean, I obviously love Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow. It's kind of funny too what a great summation that is for kind of Christopher Nolan's style, is like the great mask, like fantastical horror mask, elevated, and then it's like a suit.
Yeah.
What I think Batman Begins and all of Nolan's Batman films do really well is the elevated stakes of the plot, but are still confined until we get to Dark Knight Rises, which is like Bane's gonna basically nuke New York City.
Because squalor, whatever.
With Batman Begins, it's like the water supply is going to be aerolized, vaporized.
Yeah.
For the Joker, not the Joker, for the Scarecrow fear chemical, and that feels really like tangible. It's not like we're just trying to save the planet or something. It's like I can see that. I can understand it.
And that's like a classic Batman plot, is like poisoning the Gotham water supply. That could be in Adam West Batman, and it works in this Batman.
The great debate is
this in the same continuity as
I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you either, a cop-out.
So I said in my Superman review, or Supergirl review actually, I think Superman shouldn't kill because he has the power not to. Batman should kill because he is just a guy, and when he doesn't kill people, they will for sure kill other people. So, like, I don't mind when Batman kills, actually.
So you're fine with him leaving Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul?
More than fine. I don't have to, you're a fucking freak. Why would I save you? Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul is probably the weakest part of the movie. Liam Neeson's never, hot take, Liam Neeson's never that exciting. Ra's al Ghul is a very cool character in the comics. I hate to make this kind of review all about that, but like, it's just, when there's something cooler out there. He's supernatural in the comics. He resurrects himself with these crazy pits of strange liquid. He is more of an environmentalist and wants to just sort of like reduce the population, which I think is a better, more like direct motivation than Gotham is too evil or whatever. Yeah, I mean, he's like Arab and has a cool beard and a green cloak in the comic, and so in this he's just like Liam Neeson. Yeah, I would prefer if Ken Watanabe were Ra's al Ghul, obviously.
That's fair. I would,
Tom Wilkinson does like that great accent and is just such a scumbag. Mark Boone Jr., who we just talked about, playing Flash, is like with that hot dog and like getting, I mean, it's one of those movies where like every image. Yeah. Rutger Hauer as like the CEO. It's really, he nails that scene where Bruce outmaneuvers him. This movie does set up a really good Bruce Wayne Batman dichotomy. Not everyone loves his Batman. His Batman is a little plain, but his Bruce Wayne is the best. Like, does such a good job of the performance of the asshole. He's basically being Patrick Bateman. I just love Batman Begins. It's too iconic for me not to have it number 2. Speaking of, what's your number 1?
Number 1.
Yeah.
Same. The Dark Knight.
It's nice that any Christopher Nolan ranking has the same number 12 and the same number 1. It helps bring everyone together.
Let's put a smile on that face.
I don't know what can be said about this movie that hasn't been said before. I know when I saw that in high school, this will never be displaced as my number 1 personally, because it was so influential. This was truly the movie. When I came out of the theater after a midnight screening, I was like, that's the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. And it really kind of is what shifted me from thinking I wanted to be like a novel, like write novels, to like wanting to work in movies.
Okay.
We're still very much living in the shadow of this film. The most recent Batman, directed by Matt Reeves.
Yeah.
You can just still feel like the Nolan DNA, especially the Dark Knight DNA on it, and it's just not as good.
Yeah.
The genre still lives in the shadow of the Dark Knight, and I don't think people have an issue with it. I think everyone more or less loves the Dark Knight and still is happy to hold it up as like the glistening example of the genre. And if you were to tell me that you ranked Ledger's Joker as the best cinematic villain over Lecter, Darth Vader, Norman Bates, I would not disagree. I'd probably even agree as someone who loves The Silence of the Lambs as well. What he did can't be overstated.
I put him a second to Darth Vader,
Okay.
but that's just like it. That this is, I think, something that doesn't get said enough. This is the second greatest blockbuster of all time behind Star Wars. Pick your Star Wars, Empire Wars, the first one, but it has the most iconic lines, the most iconic action, the most just iconic imagery, hero and villain. It's the peak of Nolan's style. That I do feel bad kind of suggesting that he kind of peaked in the first half of his career, but like that is the Tarantino theory more or less. Just like perfect. It works for me because it deals with a lot of the issues I normally have with him. It has great characters and a great script. It's based on The Long Halloween, kind of, in that it does the Harvey Dent, Batman, Commissioner Gordon trio, and then tells the story of how Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face. It doesn't do as good of a job, surprise, as the comic of telling that story. The comic also has this whole like Falcone family calendar killer plot that's really interesting, and it introduces all of the villains. The movie was never going to do that, but it at least captures what's kind of tragic about the Harvey Dent story. I think they do a good job of setting up this very visual thing of the Joker has Harvey Dent here and Rachel here, and you have to choose, and he gets half his face burnt off. I still do prefer the Long Halloween version of he gets acid thrown in his face in the courtroom. They kind of fake you out with that, with him almost getting shot in the courtroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was convinced that that is the better origin by the Batman Arkham Shadow VR game that came out last year. That actually has you sitting in the courtroom as Bruce Wayne, and like you see him get the acid on his face, and you like see him like pull himself up in front of you with like half his face burnt off. And it's just like a little more dramatic to have it happen publicly, and it's more thematic that it happens in a court of law. And I really disagree with them killing Two-Face at the end. I am always disappointed when you kill the villain at the end of a comic book movie, because the fun of the comic book villains is that they always come back, and not getting to have any kind of like can't be Two-Face fun, even in a really grounded movie, you know, robbing the Second National Bank on the 2nd of February. Like, I don't need that, but like something like I wanted to see Nolan's version of that in a sequel, you know, in the way that we have the great Scarecrow cameo at the top of this one. I would have liked to have seen like a Dark Knight sequel where he's putting Harvey back in jail after he commits some sort of Two-Face crime. It's used to motivate him and like be the reason he needs to kind of go back into the shadows. But that comes to nothing in The Dark Knight Rises. So I can't help but feel just sort of underwhelmed by that plot line. I've never had a better theater experience than like the midnight premiere for that movie. I mean, we used to do midnight premieres, which always used to feel so fun. We were in a packed theater, which never happens anymore, with just people in costumes, people sharing food with us. One of my friends couldn't get in. He didn't get a ticket, and somebody overheard us talking about that and gave us a ticket. Just like the best theater experience I've ever had. And then those lines, you know, like, I mean, the ta-da pencil trick. Yeah, I mean, his entrance is insane, and it never stops being interesting. I mean, in some ways, he's very much like the comic. In other ways, he's like uniquely Heath Ledger. I love the theory that he's like a traumatized former army interrogator. They do such a good job of grounding him in that way, where you're like, clearly this is some guy that had some involvement in the law enforcement or military and just like snapped and figured out like how to manipulate the crime element to his advantage. But also then when he like gets kind of angered by Batman, just sort of all he can do is focus on that and want to, you know, become the better class of criminal or whatever. They just sell like what the Joker is really well in a grounded way, while still doing some fun ungrounded stuff, like just obviously his outfit. Sewing a phone into a guy is pretty like Joker-y. It's very comic book Batman to have the Joker being in a nurse's costume in a hospital. You know, I love that.
Sliding down a mountain of cash and then lighting it on fire.
Yeah. Doing like interrupting broadcasts with, you know, the skyscraper showdown is really cool too, because that actually, people don't realize this movie actually does take a lot of plot points from Batman #1 from 1940. Not the first appearance of Batman, but the first Batman issue. And it's just a story about the Joker killing public officials and Batman and the police can't figure out how he's doing it and how to stop him until like he finally corners him at the top of an unfinished skyscraper. Robin's there though, so that's not in that's like a very like fun noir story in the comic, and I think it's really cool they used it to inspire The Dark Knight. That being said, Yeah, I do. My big issue I sort of foreshadowed with Batman Begins is like overall, people like to say this is the best comic book movie. I don't think that's the case. It's not a very good comic book movie. I mean, it's so grounded that it's really it's more of a crime drama. It takes a lot of the fun out of Batman comics, unfortunately, but like replaces it with, you know, impeccable Nolan style and a good script and great performances, some of the greatest performances of all time. So it fills that gap fine for me. It's just I bristle a little bit when it's like always on the number one of every comic book movie list, when I would probably honestly put Infinity War, which, you know, some people can't handle that, you know, but it's like, to me, that's the epitome of what comic books are, like big crossovers, color, crazy universe shattering plot points. But this is the best Nolan movie. It's linear. It's totally linear.
Yeah. What does that say?
What does that say? I think it says a lot of times in filmmaking, we are our own worst enemy. Sometimes you have to kind of kill your darlings. When you just do the assignment and take yourself out of it a little bit, that leads to better results. Not around with his fascination in time and just telling the story the way it needed to be told, linear. So yeah, that is our top 12. I think we mostly disagreed on Insomnia and Batman Begins.
And Inception.
Oh, actually, that's the biggest disagreement. Like, I don't think that's a good movie. Odyssey.
Yeah, thoughts. Odyssey thoughts.
Yeah. I think like we were mentioning, it has a chance to have some good female characters finally. We'll see how he does there. I think, yeah, it's going to be one of the last films to use significant amount of huge, expensive practical effects. I'm interested to see how he does the plotting, because it is a pretty long story, even for like a 3-hour movie. So, he's going to have to cut down on some stuff. I'm a little worried it's going to feel sort of like it's moving too fast, like Tenet.
Travis Scott, like Tenet, has the credits song.
Okay.
Which I kind of bought it. Honestly, the song he does for Tenet is kind of a banger. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, in this, he's like doing this song, and he's in the movie as like the bard.
Yes.
And it's just like we'll see how it goes. But Ryan was like, it's very like Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like, you know who the original rapper was? Like Homer. It's like just a little corny. Travis Scott is very like 40 years ago too. He's not exactly like hot right now. Maybe this will change that. Also, just to emphasize how not kind of cool he is right now, Ryan wanted me to share this is him in a Batman costume that he shared to his social media that he then eventually took down because everyone ragged on him so hard.
Everyone said he looked like a roach.
I mean, the cowl shoulders are coming off, the cape. I don't get what like the weird red bits around his knees are. The underwear is very like thick and weird, and then he looks brown. Nolan,
for press for the Odyssey, has said he is invoking like the oral tradition of storytelling from antiquity is how we're bringing in like Travis Scott, or why it's appropriate to cast him. I want to know how Travis Scott came into Nolan's orbit. I'm like, Nolan's practically a Luddite. Like, he didn't discover Travis Scott on like Spotify algorithm. Like some executive or like or Nolan's kids were like,
no, that's just it. He's like an old nerdy dad who like learned about that one cool thing and is holding on to that forever now as like the one cool thing he knows about. So we'll see. I feel like that Batman could fight your Scarecrow maybe. All right, well, thank you for joining me today to talk about these. Hopefully viewers, Alex helped to balance things out so it wasn't just Christopher Nolan hate fest by me. Whenever I say like these are the good ones, obviously I don't mean the others are complete shit. I just mean they don't work like in their entirety for me. And anyways, I'm saying half of his filmography is good, so that's like still pretty strong. I think I think when he can have the non-linearity actually serve a purpose, and when he can actually have some good characters eke through, either through just good performances or a script that wasn't just written by him, things tend to go a little better. And the bigger thing that I sort of brought up in my Evil Dead Burn video, which was my video before this, is this summer movie season has been flop city. Like, just like even stuff that maybe did okay financially was still like bad, So I've barely seen anything I liked this summer. I really hope this can turn out well and change my mind. It's kind of 50-50 chance based on my ranking. All right, well, we better cut it. I'm already going to have to...
Yeah, have fun editing this.
Thanks for tuning into our discussion. Let me know if you agree more with me or Alex in the comments. Let me know if you think Inception sucks or if it's a masterpiece. And we'll see you on Friday for a review of the Odyssey.